There is absolutely no way this just happened. A shocking backup goalie swap has sent the NHL into a frenzy with one of the most unexpected trades of the year so far. In this video, I'm going to break down the implications this trade has on both teams and why this trade actually happened. So you're going to want to stick around for this episode of Hat Trick HQ. But before we get into it, we got to say that 91% of you guys watching these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So you want to keep up to date on the latest NHL news, rumors, trades, everything happening around the league. Make sure down below and hit that subscribe button because we're going to be here producing daily content for you guys. But with that said, we just got to jump right into this trade. If you guys haven't seen it, Nashville and the Colorado Avalanche made a trade just about an hour ago of recording this video. Juices Annunen and a 6th round pick have been traded to the Nashville Predators for Scott Wedgewood. And the initial reaction I'm seeing online from both fan bases, NHL fans in general, is nobody really understands why this trade happened. It's a backup swap. Both goalies are around an 880 save percentage. One's younger, one's older. Both teams are struggling in the goaltending category this year. But that is the trade, and it is a very interesting one. There's no doubt about it. Whenever there's a goalie swap, it's always nice. Maybe, both teams managers were kind of like, hey, maybe, a fresh home for both these guys could really give them an extra spark this year. We're going to throw in a 6th round pick with a younger goalie to bring in an older one. Doesn't really make sense to me as well, because it seems to me that Annunen would be the thing that's more valuable in this trade, in my opinion, or the player that's more valuable in this trade. But we're going to break it down here. The first player we are going to talk about in this trade, the first half of this trade, is going to be Scott Wedgewood. Like I alluded to, he's only had 5 starts this year where he had 1 win, and he's at about an 878 save percentage with a 3.69 goals against average so far this year. And those aren't the greatest numbers, but if you look at over his career, he is 32 years old, so he is getting up there as of now in age. But through his career, he has been over a 900 save percentage goalie. This season, the Nashville Predators have been struggling, and that's probably the reason why those numbers are down. They haven't been able to score goals. They've been giving up a lot of shots, and, Scott Wedgewood has played good in these games for Nashville, but, they just can't get nothing going. So he gets a fresh home here in Colorado where it's kind of a bit of the same situation. Colorado's in a little bit better of a situation. They're sitting in the middle of the Central right now. Their goaltending has been struggling this entire year for them. Whether it's Georgiev, he hasn't had the hottest start to this season so far for this team at all. So getting Scott Wedgewood in here now, a guy where you can kind of ride that 2-tandem goalie rather than with an Annunen, because he's more of like a younger, not as an established goalie as Wedgewood. So now you feel comfortable that with 2, veteran goaltenders here in the NHL, you can finally get something going. You can finally string some wins together and just ride the hot hand. And I think that's what Colorado has achieved here in this trade. But from my perspective, I don't really understand why you would trade away a young goalie in Annunen who has looked good and has the potential to be the next starting goaltender for your franchise. For Scott Wedgewood, I get it. You're kind of in the win now situation. Your guys are getting older, McKinnon, Rantanen, and you just want to go out and win a cup, and bringing in a veteran like Wedgewood does help achieve that. But, you're also giving away your future here to the Nashville Predators, who I'm going to talk about in a minute, have another young goaltender down there in their system. So, it just doesn't really make sense from Colorado's part in my understanding of this situation. But, who knows? This could turn out to be one of the best trades for Colorado. They could ride this 2-tandem. It could really help with them, pushing up towards the top of this Central Division. And I really hope they do, because I got a soft spot in my heart for the Avalanche. Obviously, we got McKinnon. He's the he's an Atlantic Province boy here, him and Crosby. So, we love seeing that team do successful. So hopefully this trade does work out for this team. It's one that really doesn't make sense in my eyes. But I know Scott Wedgewood has played good, especially in his years in Dallas and wherever he's been. He's been on a lot of teams. He has been a very solid backup, and he's a guy who can step up in games and win you games and make those game-saving saves to make your team successful. And I think it's a great trade, but one that really doesn't make sense on Colorado's half. But we're going to jump into the Nashville side of things here. And obviously, like I said, they're getting a young guy here, a 24-year-old goaltender. He's first, couple of seasons here in the NHL this season. He's had more starts than Wedgewood. He's got 11 games. He's got 6 wins. He's got an .872 save percentage. Bit on the lower side there, but he does have a lower GAA than we just talked about with Scott Wedgewood at a 3.23. And I think this Justus Annunen it has a lot of potential. He has a lot of potential and a high ceiling to be a, fringe starter here in the NHL. I don't expect him to be like, a UC Saros for this team. I don't expect him to be a top goalie in this league, but the potential is always there when you're 24 years old. You're getting your first looks into the NHL. I think it is a place where he could eventually be, or could eventually be in one of those teams where they're rocking that 2 tandem. But I really do like this addition, because I think this guy is a great goaltender, and getting him a new home here in Nashville alongside UC Saros, who has struggled this year, but will help him develop and help him be his teacher and mentor in some ways, will help this guy's career out tremendously. But it is one on the other side of the coin that doesn't make sense at all yet again, because obviously Nashville, they needed something to change. They're sitting towards the bottom of the Central right now, just over the Blackhawks by 1 point. If you had told me at the beginning of the season the Predators would be in a bottom of the table battle against the Chicago Blackhawks, I would laugh in your face, because they added Stamkos. They have so many great players there. Saros, who we all thought was supposed to be one of the top goalies in the league, and now they're sitting at the bottom of the Central. It doesn't make sense at all of why this team is struggling. They are struggling to put up goals. That is probably the biggest factor in this, and they are leaving the goalie, leaving Saros and, Wedgewood, when he was on this team, out to dry a lot of the time. So, I think Saros still has that, great goalie energy in him. I still think that at some point in this season, we will see Saros go on a tear, and those numbers will just keep going up and up and up until he's one of the top goalies in the NHL again. I really do suspect that. But getting back to this trade, it doesn't make sense, because they went out and signed Wedgewood and blocked, Askarov from coming up and being, their next future in the crease and being a good backup. They blocked that, but then what do? They trade the guy they signed to block Askarov to bring in Annunen, a guy who is a younger goalie around the same age as Askarov, for those guys to now battle it out for that position of backup goaltender in Nashville. It makes absolutely no sense, because if it was me, I think Askarov is a tremendous prospect and is going to be a great goalie in this league. So when they signed Wedgewood, it made no sense for him to, for them not to give Askarov that chance. And now they're just limiting him even more by going out and getting Annunen. Maybe their plan is to trade Annunen again. Maybe their plan is to trade Askarov off, but it doesn't make sense to have 2 great young goalies here in your core, when you already have one, to bring another one in. It just doesn't make sense. I do think Annunen is a great goalie. I do think Askarov is going to be a great goalie, and it will be interesting to see these 2 guys compete for that role, but, competition will help, I think. I think having that, thing in the back of your mind as a player that, there's a guy down there, he's hungry to come up and take my position, and, once he comes up, I may never get this opportunity again. I think that extra drive will help Annunen become a better player. But this trade, I think it does work for Nashville in a sense that, their goaltending has been struggling, their goal scoring has been struggling. People have been asking for change to happen here, and, swapping backup goalies, might not seem like the biggest thing to you, but when it comes to the regards of the age of these players and how this is going to affect Nashville going forward, how this is going to affect Colorado going forward, I think this is a good trade on both sides. But if you had to ask me who won this trade, I definitely think Nashville won it. I think getting Annunen, a 24-year-old goaltender, alongside a pick is winning this trade slightly. I don't think this is a huge win, or they robbed the Avalanche for this trade. I just think it is a good trade for them because they needed another guy, another goaltender to come in here and kind of give Saros a little kick in the boot because, he hasn't been the best goalie, and when Wedgewood's been in, he hasn't been the best goalie. So maybe they get a Noonan in here now. Maybe he strings together a couple of good games for this team, and then Saros is kind of like, okay, he gives him that extra edge to, be better. I think that's what we need to see in Nashville, and I want to see Saros do good, man. I love that guy. I think he's a great goaltender, and don't write him off yet, because I think at some point this season, we're going to see him do some phenomenal things. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this trade down below in the comment section. Who do you think won? Are you on the side with me? Do you think Nashville won this? Does this trade make sense to you at all? Because if it makes sense, let me know in the comment section, because I still really don't know how this makes sense in my mind. But if you guys enjoyed this one, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road for 10,000 by Christmas. I mean, that's a big ask, but we really think that you guys could help us get there, and it'll be a great gift for us on Christmas, all of us here on the channel. And if you guys want to check out a video we did the other day or this morning or whenever the last video went out, it'll be popping up on your screen right now. But as always, I've been your host, KC. Keep your stick on the ice.